what is exactly that you're doing with your content platform, so that you can educate the people that are going to be listening to us.
So this all started because I produce independent horror films. It's a specific genre. You may notice some of the creepy stuff behind me. I'm really into horror films, have been since I was a little kid. Got into producing and directing my own horror films and working on other people's projects. And about 2 years ago, we noticed that companies that shall not be mentioned that dominate some of these streaming spaces treated independent filmmakers pretty badly. You'd get 1 cent per hour of content viewed, and they would try to find a way to cheat you out of that 1 cent per hour. Then they'd remove you from the platform, and it was just it's bad for independent filmmakers. And so I kind of thought, having experienced that with my own movies, I thought, there's no place on the internet um, to stream independent horror films, that specific genre. And so a lot of the great up and coming filmmakers, their early work isn't viewable anywhere other than maybe on YouTube. And so I thought, well, not only should there be a place that highlights the filmmakers, but also a place where they're actually going to get paid a decent wage for their creative work. And then the third aspect was, if you know anything about the genre of film communities, regardless if it's like sci-fi or comic books or whatever it is, the fans drive that community. And there wasn't a place where you could watch independent horror films and be a dedicated, rabid fan. So I thought, well, I want to create my own streaming service where we combine filmmaking and fandom and put them together to create a community where people are going to be benefiting from some of these great titles that are being produced. And that's how CurdledTV was born.
Yeah.
So with Streann, we've been able to have, there's live commenting. We have a weekly watch party where we bring a director from a film on, and we do like a running commentary live, and he can respond to the audience questions and comments while we're all watching it and hearing about how they made the movie. There's games that we can play, trivia contests, things like that. But the audience actually gets to interact with the content other than just hitting a like button. So it drives that sense of community up, and across any type of genre, whatever it is that you're doing video wise, achieve our vision of having a community around our content and around filmmakers, because they're constantly developing new ways for us to be able to interact, and helping us find ways to take something that exists and retool it for our audience. So it's pretty cool like that. I'm pretty excited about it.
Why did you go direct to consumer, right? And I guess it's the necessity for independent movie makers. But nowadays, with COVID, it becomes really the only way, right? Really to reach out the consumer. What's your take?
So, as a producer, now I'm looking at, okay, we need to be developing our content based off of it being straight to streaming. That's going to get your larger audience. And if you're at the platform that treats you the best and generates the most money for you, sticking with that platform and doing a solo release there, that's going to get you more money than if you're piecemealing it here and you're getting 1 cent from Amazon and 4 cents from Tubi and everybody else.
Yeah.
But when you're starting your project, you can't be budgeting like you're going to have a theatrical release or a drive-in release or big DVD Blu-ray sales, because that's just not there yet. The best way to do it is to scale your budget back, be a little bit more creative in how you're making your content, and then from there capitalize off of the streaming audience, and then once they've seen it, then they'll go and buy the Blu-ray or the DVD.
Did you ever think about going in house? Did you ever think about, I'm going to build it, I'm going to hire
Oh my God,
developers?
do you know how much money that would cost? That's millions and millions of dollars.
But did anybody ever say, hey, we should just build our own stuff?
So I have a friend who's a programmer who develops simple, basic
Apps.
mobile applications. Said, hey, instead of doing this, why don't you have all the content yourself, and then you don't have to worry about later down the road, switching platforms or what have you, back end services. And I was like, okay, how long do you think it would take? And he was like, well, to do all of these things that I wanted to do, which was not even as big a list as the stuff we actually can do now, but just that pared down list, he was like, well, if we hired like 6 other guys that specialized in this, it would probably take us about 2 years
That's crazy.
per platform, per device.
That's exactly it. That's exactly right.
And I was like, well, okay, that's a really long time. How much is that going to cost me? And he was like, well, I mean, you'd have to hire them full time. And, so you're looking at probably around $300,000 per platform. So that's, for Apple, for Android, for Samsung Smart TVs,
Roku,
for, everything.
TV,
yeah, I mean, it's to build it yourself. There's a lot of things that I build myself. I make my own biltong Tibetan beef jerky. I bake my own bread.
I gotta search that.
It's delicious, by the way. I make everything from scratch. I love to cook. I try creating my own props and things like that. This is not something that you're going to be able to just sit down and do on your own. It's very complicated, and you're going to hit roadblocks. This summer, both Apple and Android changed their terms of services and changed how advertising can be done on their platforms, on devices sold through their stores. Well, if you've spent a year developing for that and you don't have anything else out there, so you're not hearing this ahead of time, you've got to start over. So, I mean, it's just from a logistical standpoint, it's better to partner with somebody. And even, after we had partnered together, it took a lot longer because of COVID. And that was on us. It was a two-way street. We both had delays and things like that because of COVID. So that has to be unacceptable. People have to understand that was a reality at the time. But it took us, we started the end of January, and we launched in July.
What would you do with $1 billion?
Boy, if I could tell you right now, if an investor came along today and wanted to come into CurdledTV and they put serious money down on the table, what I would do, the very first thing is go have a really nice dinner at my favorite restaurant. No, what I would do is I would focus on expanding onto the platforms that we may not already be on. Invest that money into those platforms.
Nice.
Yeah, more distribution and more. The other thing that I would do that a lot of people haven't really thought about is all of our content. Every title has closed captioning, and it's because we've really want to make this platform available to everyone, including people who have hearing sensitivity or a loss of hearing. There's another format out there that is not widely adopted, and it's very expensive, and it's for visual impairment. So it's an audio file that actually describes the visuals on the screen, so that you can get an image in your mind of what is actually happening on the screen. I'd like to be able to do that, and I'd also like to be able to provide our content in more languages, so subtitle them and maybe do overdubs for more things. For me, it's all about expanding the base of viewers.